On today's episode of The Glue Guys, we're going to talk about all the new Nets that we've actually seen play basketball. Goran Dragic, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond. And we're going to anticipate the return of Kevin Durant. And then, after the break, we're going to talk COVID policy.
Gotta quarantine that behind the break for sure.
Welcome back to The Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian.
Hello.
Check us out on Twitter at BK Glue Guys. Netsdaily.com. The Athletic. Get yourself behind the paywall at theathletic.com/Glue Guys. A subsidiary of the New York Times. Brian.
Michael.
The Nets.
Hey, we had a win.
Are quarantined. Hey.
That was a win. We had a cool win on
that was a good win
the other night.
The Bucks, the beatdown of the Bucks in Milwaukee. Kyrie Irving leading the charge, 38 points, his season high. You know, I checked his basketball reference. He hasn't played many games this year.
Yeah.
Do you have an injury or something that I missed?
We're gonna try to talk some hoops here, Mike, because we felt like it was maybe that's a thing that we could do once in a while. But it is hard to talk about hoops on this team this season. They've made it difficult, Mike. They've made it difficult. We're gonna try.
Well, we're recording this on Monday. The Nets play a back-to-back against the Raptors, a home and away.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday, and we thought this is the time to get in a pod. We
Right.
talk about the new players,
Right?
Because who knows? Those games are gonna suck.
Those games are gonna suck. Yeah, those games are gonna suck. Full stop. That's it. That's all the news that's fit to print on
Do
that.
we know that Kevin Durant's playing? Do we have any idea of when?
Has that?
'Cause it seems like he should be playing very, very, very soon, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that was confirmed or not, but anyways, hey, big Bucks win. You know,
Hey, the Bucks win. What have you liked best? Who of the new Nets? And I'm gonna put Goran Dragic in there already, even though he's only played one game.
You know, it's I think it's Dragic. Otherwise, the dragon thing doesn't work, right? You can't be a Dragon.
I'm pretty sure it's Dragic.
Really? Somebody was saying specifically. Is it?
Oh wait,
Dragic. I don't know.
Dragic.
Don't listen to me.
I think you're right.
I'm always
you're
wrong.
right.
Don't listen to me. But yeah, I enjoyed his smattering of minutes that he was closing and inbounding and all that was interesting towards the end of the game. But in general, I did like that we had this ability to close out the game with LaMarcus Aldridge, or like Dragic inbounding to Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge, Kyrie Irving, and Seth Curry. That's like a really cool offense-defense closing look to give on either side of it. So like it's like, I can kind of see like the composition of this team you can squint and start to see it come together a little bit on the horizon. It's still in a state of massive disrepair. But the weird little 2-man game that Seth Curry and Kyrie had to finish that game, I was like, oh, that's like a thing. I could see a world in which that's, the beginning of your fourth quarter, in a world where Kevin Durant needs 5 minutes of rest, and he's not playing 48 minutes like he usually does in big games.
He's going to play 48 minutes.
Yeah, but that's a look that I think actually works. Like real world works. It's part of the system that could net some wins. What did you like, Mike? Did you like things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with the Andre Drummond experience.
It's pretty good so far. I've liked it.
He's at the best point of his career because he no longer has that. I'm sure he would love to have a massive contract, but the massive contract made everyone hate Andre Drummond. It happens to every NBA player. You are underpaid. Everyone loves you. The second you get a big contract, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris is the perfect example of, hey, underrated, gets a big contract. Man, Tobias Harris sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Drummond was that, and he was also kind of that extra controversial layer of his counting stats looked really good, but his actual analytics, besides PER, you were like, that guy doesn't actually contribute to winning basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's, I think, a vet minimum guy. He's only 28 years old. He's one of the youngest players on the team, probably.
He's like a year away from averaging 17 and 10. Just a year.
And I've said this. I've advocated this for a long time. And there's some prospects coming out of college basketball that I'm very excited about. Like 7'5" dudes. There's a guy from Western Kentucky who's 7'5", 250.
You can't stay away. You can't stay away from the memes. You love the memes.
Blocks
too.
a game.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And also, real quick, I need to look up this guy's name for everyone who's like, because the Nets are gonna have a first-round pick. So I've been diving back into draft analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look up NCAA block leaders this season. There's a guy for Morehead State who is 6'10", like 210. Nothing to write home about. but is averaging 4 blocks a game.
Mm.
His name is Johnny Broom. Bring out the broom.
Bring out the broom.
4 blocks a
On
game at
brand.
6'10". The other guy's Jamarian Sharp. I know no one cares about this. He's the guy from Western Kentucky who's 7'5", and he has 4.5 blocks a game. And there's Walker Kessler from Auburn at 4.6 blocks a game, 7'1". Obsessed with all. Okay, obsessed. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to Andre Drummond. It's helpful to have a big dude. I see how much difficulty the other team has when he's in the low post, not even with the ball, just trying to get a rebound. He's occupying 2 guys, and then Bruce Brown's rebounds have gone up.
Yeah.
I think specifically because Drummond's been fighting for them, and Bruce Brown can come in.
That's it. Like you said this last week, but just having somebody to tip it to keep it alive. Like we've got feisty enough guys who they're just small. They're small and feisty, but they're feisty. And even like James Johnson can like be feisty in that way or clever. You know, a couple of guys like that. It was kind of sad to see DeAndre apostrophe Bembry on the Bucks though. That was sad. I didn't like that.
Did Javon Carter also make you sad?
That didn't make that part made me less sad. But the apostrophe I miss. The nickname the apostrophe never took off. You know?
And there was like kind of a feisty moment with Bembry, right, where like there was a foul call that he really vehemently disagreed with. And I was like, "Hey,
yeah,
you were our friend." Though when I think Carter got popped in the face on a play and he was bleeding a little bit, and Patty Mills came over to him, gave him a little pat. Like Patty Mills, what a guy!
Really nice guy.
You know,
really sweet.
Doesn't forget his friend. He doesn't care about jersey color.
No,
he just has his buds.
Smeared a little Vegemite on him, send him on his way. That's what they do. So anyways, but that was, what did they do that? You know, I feel it's a very Bucks thing. Are they like, is this some lame psychological warfare picking up like Javon Carter? I mean, DeAndre Bembry is psychological warfare. They may have missed the mark with Javon Carter. No disrespect, but.
Do you think, like, traditionally in football, sometimes like teams will sign the third string quarterback from another team before this to get the playbook, and Javon Carter comes in with Steve Nash's playbook, and it's like 1 page, and for Javon's playbook, it's jack up a 3 with 20 seconds left of the shot clock. He's like, "I got it, guys." Javon would have the playbook.
Javon would take Steve Nash's playbook and then just insert 1 sheet of his own plays.
It's like a stick figure, a bald stick figure. With a little beard.
He's like, but I don't know what to tell you. He ran everything through me, and my usage was insane. I mean, you weren't there.
An historically great offense. Not this season, but you know. And so here's the playbook. Don't miss no shots, Javon Carter.
Yeah, no shots.
But
never.
Drummond, like I know that there's like negatives about Drummond. There's a reason why he's a backup center at this point. That he's a veteran minimum guy, that he's not getting like that next big contract. But we should all know that that's built into any discussion about Drummond. And what we should appreciate is what he is compared to the other backup bigs that the Nets have had, or even starting bigs the Nets have had. As much as I love LaMarcus Aldridge, him having to run.
It's different. They're different guys. They do different things.
He runs first with his shoulders.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that? Where like he needs the momentum from his shoulders to go down into his legs.
And it starts with the arms. Like even before his legs, like he has to like get the whole thing started. It's a joy.
It's like I've been trying to do more like floor exercises, not just doing the Peloton, doing like, you know, the actual like full body stuff. And when I'm doing plank, I'm not the perfect plank. I don't have the belly tucked in.
Yeah.
I don't have the butt down. I don't know. I don't even know the proper form.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like you're all over the place.
I'm like LaMarcus Aldridge running.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing.
You're
all shoulders and elbows.
Yeah.
When I should be focusing on my core.
I'm glad to hear that though. I was worried about you and just that Peloton. I hear everyone's back going out on these Pelotons. Okay, I was worried for you.
I love that you. How do you say it? What's Peloton?
The Peloton. Yeah.
Peloton.
The Peloton. No, I don't.
Wait, what's the Dune? The Harkonnen?
Yeah, Harkonnen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Peloton.
They're brutal.
They are. They're brutal on the back, those Pelotons. Brutal.
So not only is Drummond helping the team rebounding, like, and he's going to matter. Of course, I think Daryl Morey made a joke about this. He was on Sports Talk Radio in Philly. I don't know if you heard this. And they were asking about the deal, and they're like, why was Drummond in the deal? He's like, because they were scared of Joel Embiid. I think they were scared of him, and they wanted him in the deal. And I was like, one, Daryl, basketball strategy. It's not being scared, it's basketball strategy. But if you look around the NBA, you look at the best teams in the NBA, center is just way more important than it has been in recent years.
Wait, what?
And
I'm sorry. I'm confused by the context of it. Like they're like, why did you give him DeAndre Drummond or Andre Drummond?
like
or
they
what?
were trying to. I think they were trying to talk through how did the deal come to be? Like we heard a lot of different names, right? Danny Green, Matisse Thybulle. So how did it end up being Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Drummond? And he went with I don't know, Seth Curry. I don't remember his explanation for that. But Drummond was that they were afraid, the Nets were, of Joel Embiid.
Right.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I am. Why would I not be afraid of Joel Embiid? Dude's an MVP, or probably will be an MVP this year, unless if James Harden takes that away from him, because your boy looked pretty good.
So he was like, they're scared of Joel Embiid. They want to have a good matchup for them. So I gave them that. That's what I get.
It was like they demanded it.
Oh, I see. Okay,
they demanded it.
Got it.
We've talked about this before. What's the optimal center rotation at this point? Because LaMarcus and Drummond, they can't play with anyone else. And when Kevin Durant comes back, Durant and Ben Simmons, if they play basketball, which God, who knows if he's going to play back. We didn't even talk. We're not even. Should we even discuss Ben Simmons' back? Do we really want to go down that road?
We can. I mean, again, perfect. Conflicting reports, so we'll never know. Let's not actually forget. Even just talking about conflicting reports.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like he has a back issue the same back issue that he apparently had in Philly.
Yeah.
It's like I see him sitting on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I see, do you know how uncomfortable those seats are?
They are really why can't we get to a little bit of a recline element?
A couch.
A slight recline would go, miles for these backs.
Get a couch from an old late night with Seth Meyers set.
Yeah.
Just put a couch out there, make it comfortable for these 7-footers.
Yeah.
But we're making them sit on folding
when
chairs.
When it was in the bubble
at my synagogue.
Yeah, they were sitting in cockpit seats. It looked nice. They had cup holders. It was normal.
Wait, where was that?
In the bubble.
The bubble.
Yeah.
Well, European soccer, they have they have the Top Gun seats like you're describing.
The idea that Patty Mills and Andre Drummond are sitting in the same size chair just doesn't make sense. I feel like Andre, that chair goes inside of Andre Drummond in a chair that's that's crass.
Did you see the video of did you see the video of James Harden falling down?
I did.
When he was trying to sit on the chairs.
I liked
that. Made me happy.
Some gaffes and goofs.
He's so damn skinny now.
Mike,
what the hell?
Mike, I miss James Harden. Nobody wants to hear this.
Hey, where's my manufactured tension drop?
He was smurfing out of protest. He didn't like what he was seeing, Mike.
Do the manufactured tension?
Oh. You got to do the thing.
That's the
I'm not hearing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. One sec. Sorry, everyone's like the podcast.
Manufactured tension. There you go.
Sorry.
That was perfect.
I had to switch that on.
These are hot takes, and they're born out of pure emotion. I'm not, they're not well thought out or anything. But the idea that James Harden
and everyone listen.
Yeah, but hear me out. No, but he was smurfing. The guy was smurfing. So for those of you who don't know, smurfing is an esports term for somebody who's using an account that is like a new account, not their professional account, so that they can beat up on noobs. And James Harden was hiding his power level, for the entirety of the season out of protest because he didn't like what was happening and he couldn't influence it. And he saw a moment of clarity to make a clean break, get the Nets something in return, not have to walk in the offseason, and he did it. And I am going to go to my grave. And if the Sixers, do you realize what's going to happen if the Sixers win it this year? Do you realize?
Stop. They're not going to win it. They're not going to win it.
Hypothetical, totally hypothetical. Does Nets Nation take a real hard look at themselves? Are we going to be is there going to be all the personal decision people, or are we going to be like, damn, we missed out on a chip again. We done did it again.
If I would usually call it a come to Jesus moment, for Kyrie, it's like a come to Joe Rogan moment. It's like I don't even want to consider it. I don't think they're that good enough as a team.
I'm just saying hypothetically.
I understand.
Does it have do we have a moment of introspection and be like whoops a daisy? We may have
we may have continually bet on I don't want to call it mentally fragile, but mentally unstable superstars. right?
I wouldn't even call it unstable. I think his logical framework is just like not something you should be able to rely on. We shouldn't rely on it long term.
There's something like there's even though Chris Paul's never won a championship and Kyrie has, there's something of like purely basketball is the only thing that matters that carries you through. And like Michael Jordan, basketball was it. Even if he was in Space Jam and played golf, like ultimately basketball was the thing. Mm-hmm. And LeBron has talked about it before where everything he does off the court is fed from on the court. It doesn't have like he knows that if he starts sucking on the court, all those business interests outside the court are going to be diminished. Mm-hmm. Basketball is the thing. And it's so funny to think about when Sean Marks was hired that every team that hires a Spurs assistant GM wants to be the next Spurs organization, right? And what do we think of when we think of the Spurs? We think of stability, no drama, even though that is a fallacy. Like the Kawhi Leonard hamstring, quotes for the non-YouTube crowd. Like we kind of all gloss over the fact that Kawhi Leonard quit basketball for a year to get away from San Antonio. Mm-hmm. And there's been so many reports that there would be a practice in San Antonio. They would end practice, Kawhi didn't practice, and then he would play like one-on-one against Matt Bonner. Yeah. Like he was an announcer at the team. It's like, but because it was San Antonio, it just doesn't register in our minds the way that, what happened with Ben Simmons in Philly or what's happening with Kyrie or what happened with Harden in Brooklyn. But anyways, this whole team was built on culture. I do think if the Sixers win, and not that they are the epitome of culture, there should be a come to Joe Rogan moment, for this team. There should be a moment be like, I know we have like 3 ultra talented players, but if they don't play basketball together, then what does it mean? We should invest more in players who play basketball.
Yeah, I don't want to have
this Ben Simmons back thing. Get out of! I can't stand it. The fact that he's sitting on the goddamn bench. I can see him there sitting. I can see him walking around. There's video of him at practice. I don't want, if this back injury is not a real thing, I don't want to hear about it. Okay. I don't want to hear from any sources that he has you've had back surgery, right?
I have. I did that.
All right. And my back used to hurt.
So I'm an expert. I'm an expert in the field. Ask me anything.
Your body's been through it, man. You've been through
that and so much more. It's just
you're like Oliver Stone, doing movies about Vietnam. You've been through it.
I got a Ford F-150 here, from '87.
So don't give me this back injury, and if it's a back injury that has persisted from October to now, when he hasn't played basketball, okay, we're not dummies. That means that he has a serious back injury, or we're not being told the truth. And a back injury is the easiest way to explain away sort of like he doesn't want to play basketball in Philly on March 10th. So we're going to pretend he has this back injury because then we could say, oh, his back is fine. Steve Nash has come out and said that whatever the back injury is not a big deal at all. So what are we doing?
We tried so hard, Mike. We tried to talk about basketball, and now here we are talking about back injuries and logical frameworks. And
did the COVID vaccine give Ben Simmons a back injury that's persisted through time? Did it happen? Brian, you can't tell me it didn't happen because we know he's vaccinated.
And to take us even further away from this, there was a Sports Illustrated article that sort of uses Ben. I don't know if you saw this, Ben Simmons as the
Netsdaily,
the linchpin of an argument about just sort of tisk-tisking the media about the way that they've handled the Ben Simmons mental health issue, which I think is fine, and we're kind of guilty of that ourselves. But I will say was missing the one important detail of why Ben Simmons's mental health sort of claims are being brought into this light in particular. This sort of this because we're as media people have definitely reframed the way that they think about this and talk about it.
Sure, 100%.
Phelps and everyone else. And I just think that the big missing part is that it was a combination of I don't want to play for specifically this team and then a post hoc mental health thing. I think it could be a PR issue. Could just be you need Brian Egan and Partners LLC PR
Bud Egan.
Bud Egan. Because you do want to start that conversation with the motivation, not like backing into why I don't want to play for specifically this one team, not like I have an issue that's preventing me from playing basketball, period. So I will say, like, it is a treacherous place to be in when you're questioning someone's mental health. You don't want to do it, but I will also say there's specific reasons in this case why people in particular are keying into it. I'm just saying.
Well, and it's confusing because if the Nets had come out and said, and Ben Simmons, who had an opportunity, had a press conference, and at his press conference, he said his mental health had nothing to do with the Sixers. I'm pretty sure he just had nothing to do with coaches or players or executives or whatever. But if Ben Simmons had come out and said, like, hey, I'm still going through mental health stuff right now. I actually don't know if, I can play. I really do want to play, but it's tough. I'm struggling with mental health. I mean, frankly, I would really support him because that'd be a very brave thing to do. But he talked about wanting to play. And I would just and we talked about this in the last show. If they have a date in mind, they have to say it. Just say it. Don't do this thing where we're all waiting for the Brooklyn Nets Twitter account to tweet out the injury report and praying and hoping that Ben Simmons' name will go from, or Kevin Durant's name will go from out to questionable or probable. Or I can't, when I'm on the train to hell, okay, the image on the monorail to hell that they're going to be showing to prepare me whilst I spend the rest of my time in eternity being my flesh burned off,
my God,
will be the Brooklyn Nets injury report.
Yeah.
That'll be my introduction to hell. Speaking of that, let's take a break and talk about COVID. And we're back.
Hey,
Brian.
Good to be
back. Do we want to
to
jump right into COVID? Do we want to talk quickly about Seth Curry just to give people a palate cleanser?
Cleanse it. Sounds like you got something.
Well, what I want to say importantly, so Patty Mills has tailed off a little bit. He's been overworked. I think he has more minutes per game this season than ever in his career, right? He's having more usage than ever in his career. And it's not like the Spurs have been not a great team of recent, so they could have used a guy like Patty Mills, but the Nets are so reliant on Patty Mills. Seth Curry's the best thing to ever happen to Patty Mills in recent years. Tim Duncan's probably the best thing in reality. But Seth Curry is like the true tier or two up above Patty Mills in terms of a player. I love Patty. Love what he brings to this team. You and I were so excited when he signed with the Nets. Championship pedigree, great guy, all that. Could be the Ben Simmons whisperer. Seth Curry is a true starter in the NBA.
Yeah.
Has contributed to playoff teams. He was in Portland with Dame and CJ. He was next to Luka in Dallas, and he was with Embiid in Philly.
Just appears to have really gotten better over time, like precipitously. Just over and over again, just every year, a little bit better, a little more added to his game. People even last night or on Saturday were talking about how his defense has improved, which has been the biggest thing that people talk shit about him for.
Yeah, the funny thing about both Currys at this point is there's an idea in your head that, just because they're shooters and they don't look all that muscular, that they're not going to be good defenders. And Seth Curry is not a good defender, but they're both lankier than you would expect. I mean, Seth Curry's listed at 6'2", 185, but he doesn't look small out on the court. Where Patty Mills looks small out on the court. Seth Curry pretty consistently since he went from Dallas to Portland, Dallas, Philly, and now he's Philly and Brooklyn. He's been pretty consistently starter minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the difference where Patty Mills is your perfect guy off the bench, helps the second unit, can play with starters in spots to be that shooter and be the guy that the defense maybe leaves alone. Where Seth Curry can be a hub of an offense for various stretches of a game.
Yeah.
God, it would be exciting. We don't have a Joe Harris update, but it would be so exciting if Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons could all play basketball. Wouldn't that be great?
It would be good. I think the other last little thing about Seth Curry for me is I think he's got really good that sort of starter level intuition. He just has a way of being the guy who is back to get the weird cherry picking outlet pass for when you get a steal. He's just there when you want him to be there. tough to teach. And not to say that Patty Mills isn't that way, but I think Seth Curry has that in spades in a way that maybe Patty doesn't.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because whenever everyone's back, and let's say we'll talk about the Kyrie vaccine mandate and all that stuff coming up.
Everyone's so excited. They're fired up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But imagine a world where like everyone's back, right? Mm-hmm. There's still no true point guard besides Dragic on this team. Is it Dragic?
It's Dragic. It's
Dragic. Like Goran.
Goran. There you go.
And I apologize. I like to say people's name correctly, but
I'm not sure I'm right. So we'll get.
I think you're right. Yeah. Say it again.
Dragic. That's why people's
Dragic.
Like,
that's right.
You're dragon.
Of course, that's right.
Yeah.
Dragic.
Just think of dragons.
Dragic. Imagine Dragons, will you? That's a band.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine Dragons. Are they good?
What's "Will You"? Is that like a song or something?
Well, like I'm like slipping. I don't really know.
Okay,
I don't.
Right.
I don't want to explain a lame joke that I made.
Okay, good.
Sorry. There's no true point guard besides Goran on this team because I don't consider Kyrie.
No.
What do you? Is he?
No, he's combo. Yeah, he's combo. Let's combo that.
Combo guard.
Yeah.
The famous conversation. That really should have been the Glue Guys Theater, which is
truly.
James and Kyrie talking about who's point guard, which is actually a very boring conversation.
Really boring.
But what I like is Kyrie can obviously lead an offense. KD's a great passer. Seth Curry, I've been very impressed by his passing. If Joe Harris is back, he's a really good ball mover. But even if not, Ben Simmons is one of the best passing 6'10" and over players in NBA history. And, like Drummond has an interesting style of passing at times. He thinks he's Jokic.
He does some good stuff.
Various points.
I mean, like,
he does some good stuff.
Somebody commented very accurately that he's going to do one behind the back that, like, farts off his foot out of bounds every game.
Sure.
But, like,
hey.
He had, like, 5 or 6 assists against the Bucks the other night, and they looked like real, they were good, proper assists.
I mean, I think if there's the small ball lineup of death, if that ever truly materializes with Kyrie, Seth Curry, Joe Harris, Ben Simmons, and KD, it's a lot of passing, Gene. It's a lot of shooting besides Ben Simmons. It's still got good height, like still relatively you're a solidly tall team. You're not too small. And again, besides Ben Simmons is the greatest shooting. But we don't know if that's a possibility because while we got good news about Kyrie Irving's vaccination, not his status, but what the city may do, we also got confusing bits of information. So this entire time, and this is the vaccine conversation, so if you don't care, I understand. I do not blame you, and you can go away. I understand. And we're just going to see a drop-off.
Yeah.
But we've been so focused on one particular thing this entire time. Is this keys to the city sort of mandate, the local mandate, which I've loved to talk about for so long. We've been so focused on that because that is the initial thing that has kept Kyrie Irving from playing at home. The mayor Eric Adams, announced, I think via Twitter yesterday, and also Shams and Woj reported this, that the keys to New York City, as long as everything's okay, is going to drop next week. Is that right?
The 7th. That was
the 7th on Monday. Is that a Monday? Probably.
Who knows?
Which everyone got very excited. And some people were reporting, oh, Kyrie's coming back. We have a home date for Kyrie. Then I think Shams even almost immediately and initially reported, well, Kyrie is still barred from playing because of the private employer vaccine mandate that had been in existence before anyways. So then there's a great debate on Twitter and there's a lot of confusion, partly because Brian and I talked about this privately in our chats, that as the law or the mandate's written up, it describes employees, non-city employees, like professional athletes and performers can come into New York and perform. But that's not like, hey, Kyrie lives in New Jersey, so he is a non-city employee. It just means people who like LeBron, who play in LA, they come in for a night to play the Knicks, they can play unvaccinated then leave. If you play basketball for a team based in New York City, which is what they consider a city employee, a city-based employee, not if he lives in New Jersey. Anyways, all this is to say, we're confused as hell, and this team is it doesn't seem to be any closer to having Kyrie on the floor.
I will say having like I said, like having read a few contracts in my day, that one was actually written. When you posted a tweet of this, and at BK Glue Guys to check out Mike's great tweets.
The leading source for vaccine information, according to Adrian Wojnarowski.
True. That is true. Mike posted a I don't know where you got. Where'd you screenshotted the where?
It's from the all these things you can go on the city's website. You can Google them. They go to the city's website and read them, because don't read them from like AM New York. No shots at AM New York.
No shots.
But
Huge
I
fan.
worked at a radio station in New York, WCBS. When we would write up these things, we would condense them.
Yeah.
You have to leave out information to condense. Go to the city's website. There are PDFs there. Just click and you'll read the thing and they'll explain it to you pretty plainly.
So the way that it's like kind of written is confusing, but at having done a few contracts in my day, it actually does.
No big deal.
No big deal. Does logically follow, but like the way that it's sort of written is like workers in that first line, and then definition, and then it's like workers does not include this. Whereas, so Kyrie Irving falls under the definition of worker. Undeniably, he is a person who shows up to work in a public space in New York where he pays taxes, where that's everything, So that's what's happening here. He's not just
Brian just saw my face. Derek Jeter is stepping down as CEO of the Miami Marlins.
Oh, I saw that like
no one cares.
That was like hours ago. I saw that.
No, sorry.
So late, Mike. Jeez. Are you upset? Do you need to take a break?
I don't care.
Are you sure?
But anyways, take a moment here.
So people in general are confused about this, and then a lot of other things with regards to this. And we've talked about this before on the show, Mike. You've talked about this expertly, succinctly, but we should say it again that like the way that the mandates have been rolled out, people are upset because it doesn't follow the science, and there's a couple things at play, right? There's the scientific world, and then there's how it actually gets put into praxis by the legal world, by, as you like to call them, local municipalities.
Yeah, it's like when I was a young boy trying to imagine what it would be like making out with a girl. I can imagine it all I want. I can watch videos about it. I can learn technique through library books. But until you're out there in the field and actually doing it, you don't know. You know what I mean? It's exact comparable.
Sorry, I was getting a message.
I just had the worst analogy in the history of the show, and I was expecting you to be like, Mike, this is horrible.
Jump all over.
Did you even hear?
I didn't.
Okay. That's just for the audience. They're going to listen to that and think this is Mike is dumb.
I got a dumb text. Okay, sorry. But you were talking about something.
From Derek Jeter?
Yeah.
You were talking to DJ?
I was talking to DJ. Respect too. Anyways. What were we talking about? We're talking about mandates?
Well, yeah, we're talking about mandates. And you're talking about the difference between follow the science and what it goes out in practicality, in the real world, how it has to work.
Right. And those two things are actually very different. And so like the way that they decided to get, because again, remember, New York City wants you to get vaccinated. So they wanted to put into place.
That's the key thing.
Yeah, you guys have to remember, like, they really want you to get vaccinated. So all of the like, why aren't they? It's like, start with that. Start with the motivation. They want.
So does Joe Tsai, who has supported like vaccination. Like there have been multiple campaigns that have tied the state and city to the Nets to promote vaccinations.
Right. So they look for a way to legally enact a mandate that has the most coverage without it being like, without it falling into some other like despotic, too far mandate, federal mandate stuff, whatever. So
some people would argue that it has.
That already has, and that's why I sort of like waffled at the end there, because there are some arguments, maybe, but yeah. So anyways, in general, they do want you to get vaccinated. They're going to make as expansive a mandate as humanly possible without going into the like that final realm of the overreach, whatever. And
I mean, they've literally mandated vaccines for public employees and private employees.
Yeah.
So that's everyone.
It's everyone.
There's no third bucket.
Yeah.
So if you're an artist who lives in a cabin
right.
in Bushwick, I don't know, are there cabins?
And so the thing is, like, you can't so the way that you also do it is like through an employer mandate, right? So if you take a step back, like, okay, there's a big difference between an employer mandate and if you're just a person on the street mandate. That's a thing that like a federal government could ostensibly do, but you might consider an overreach or whatever, and that would be bad politics or optics or who knows what. But like, if you're following the science, truly following the science, a unilateral federal mandate might be the thing you would do, right? That's like but America is built on freedoms and rights, Mike, and we have some people who are opposed to that kind of thing, which I'm not going to weigh in whether you and I are or not, but anyways, we have to think about it from that perspective, right? New York City wants you to get mandated. It's very important to
They want you to get mandated?
Well, sorry, once you get vaccinated, it's very important.
Get mandated, folks.
They want you to that was the Freudian slip. That's what they yeah. They want you to comply. Anyways, so this is just another like annoying traipse into mandate land, but there's nothing that's like. Here's the question for you, Mike: is after this change happens, which actually fundamentally doesn't change anything for Kyrie, are they going to roll out another change in the not too distant future that will include him? Yeah,
they are, because here's a very interesting thing that happened on Twitter. So here's what Adrian Wojnarowski, friend of the show, tweeted out after he tweeted out the initial news. Here's his tweet. Here's an interpretation of NYC mayor's announcement. Kyrie Irving remains restricted from playing under NYC's mandate for large employers. But the March 7th loosening of key to NYC mandate is another step in what's expected to be an inevitability. Irving will be cleared to play this season. Then Eric Adams' press secretary, who I'm forgetting his name, though he went to Syracuse, so shouts out to Syracuse,
shout out to that guy.
Retweeted that with a quote above it saying, "This is an accurate interpretation, but the key is everyone should get vaccinated." So Woj in his own tweet is saying it's an inevitability that Irving will be allowed to play the season. The press secretary, which is a big deal, which in a mayoral, any really elected office, is saying, yes, this is an accurate viewpoint. All of this is to say, and I agree with Woj's interpretation, this is something that we've talked about, the indication that the city is at a good enough point where they can remove the key to NYC mandate, right, in a week. He's saying, it's not guaranteed, but Eric Adams is saying, well, we're going to look over the data over this next week, and if everything looks good, we're going to remove it. There's nothing that's going to be in the data that's going to change it. Mm-hmm. Well, once you start removing that first layer, that first onion layer, mm-hmm. you're going to want to keep digging into that onion. And because it's going to seem odd from a public policy point of view, it also opens up to like legal challenges in a greater degree when you're having more gaps in your vaccine mandate system. Yeah. Right now, New York City is as covered as it could possibly be between public, private, the key to NYC, all that stuff. As they start removing mandates, then it's actually easier for legal challenges to come through and say, well, they're allowing this group of people to do this and this group of people to do that. Why would they let that happen? Why is there differences? Yeah. And many people have pointed out the fact that because of the key to NYC dropping, Kyrie could go to a basketball game at Barclays as a fan, but not play in the game. What does that make sense? Of course that doesn't make sense. But the mayor, though he talked on CNBC this morning, and I have the sound, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone can find it. He was asked specifically about Kyrie Irving, and he was like, I would love to see Kyrie play. I think there is a chance of that happening, but I don't want to look inconsistent on COVID. So it's something for everyone in what he said.
You're right, though. It's a good point, though, that like if you slowly roll this back, like piece by piece, you'll create a lot of these weird little situations with a bunch of different people. I mean, Kyrie is obviously anytime anything happens with COVID in New York City, like the first thing anyone thinks of is Kyrie. It's just very interesting for someone who doesn't want to be a source of attention or drama.
And I think this gets to a point that I really do want to get to on this show, which is like, if Kyrie got vaccinated and did the thing he was supposed to do, that he told Sean Marks and Kevin Durant and James Harden that he would do,
what,
to get vaccinated, that none of this would be an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about like, oh, James Harden would be on the team, this team would be first in the East, and they would go on to win a championship. I'm just saying, if he did what he said he was going to do, none of this would be an issue. If he decided right now to get vaccinated and do what how many hundreds of millions of people have gotten vaccinated?
There's been 10 billion doses, over 10 billion doses worldwide of this vaccine. Like
I've taken 1 billion of them right here, just every day.
You're stepped up,
dropping them in.
Yeah, you've been looking good lately. That's why I was going to say.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to die tomorrow.
New diet. No, come on. You're
my insides just filled with Pfizer. But if Kyrie decided to get the shot now, he could play tomorrow or whenever. Oh, actually, if he got the shot today, he could play tonight against Toronto. Like, that's also the thing with the private vaccine mandate rule, where you just have to get the first shot, then you have 45 days to get the second one, and I don't think there's a booster requirement. Of course he's not going to do it. But there's people that follow us on Twitter that will tweet out stuff about COVID, and people will be like, oh, the mayor's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's like, you can, I mean, yeah, there's inconsistencies. And I think Eric Adams talks about those inconsistencies as if like they don't really make sense, but like there are things that we kind of have to do, right? And I appreciate his candidness. Kyrie could just get vaccinated. He won't. It's his choice. I understand that. He could. And then we don't have to worry about any of this. And frankly, it's good for his health. It's good for the health of those around him. All of that stuff, right? I mean, so I think there's a lot of misguided anger. And I'm not saying Kyrie Irving deserves anger. I'm just saying all these other people that are doing the right thing don't deserve anger. The person that maybe deserves a little bit more of a spotlight is Kyrie. And we know what he's just not going to get vaccinated. So we're left with digging through municipal mandates. That is what this podcast has become.
And people judge James Harden for not wanting to sit around and listen to this. I don't even want to sit around and listen to this.
Here you go, Brian. Go back to your boy James. Your buddy.
I'm just saying. I'm just impressed that people have the opinion that they have about the James Harden situation. I think it's interesting. I just find it very interesting for human psychology reasons that people are like, screw this guy. He should stick it out and wait for a uncontrollable X factor person to figure out his life that will directly impact his like career legacy. That feels very interesting to me. It's very unsympathetic in my mind.
To me, it's an indication of like how I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. How much of a dump James Harden took on the Nets fan base and the franchise on his way out. We've talked about this before. There's video evidence of James Harden like playing the worst game of his career. The last game he played as Nets, the worst game of his career. He played against the Sacramento Kings, and he was just a chubby, sad, hamstring injured mess. Where Kyrie, there's no like aha moment where we're like,
this is an aha moment. If this isn't an aha moment, I have gone on this show for years now and called him a chill bro and defended all of this stuff, and I've had the aha moment of we're along for the ride. This is the ride.
Well, this was a great show, Brian.
Yeah, it had to be.
I feel like it was a pretty good show.
You know, what else are we supposed to do? I mean, we talked about the basketball in the beginning, but it's not a team that's made for talking about basketball right now, unfortunately.
Well, whenever Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons play basketball, of course we're going to talk about that. We're so excited to talk about that. We're going to do another redraft of the team. One of our listeners sent in that idea to do that, to dial that one up, where Brian and I draft different players on the team.
Oh.
I can't wait to do that. Brian can't take Paul Millsap anymore, unfortunately. I can't take Javon Carter anymore. I think I took Javon Carter in like the fourth round of our first draft.
You were high on Javon.
I took Kyrie Irving, believing they
would
like, trade him.
God, I need some playmaking. Let me get Javon Carter.
Hey, Javon. Okay. Hey, Javon. Okay, Glue Guys Theater, real quick. You're Javon Carter. I'm Mike Boonhauser. Hey, Javon. Nice to meet you. All right, buddy. Can you send me over that playbook? Can you? Hey, buddy.
You want me to be Javon Carter right now?
You be Javon Carter?
No. Okay.
No. No.
You made me laugh so hard my hat fell off.
All right. Thank you all for listening. At BK Glue Guys on Twitter. iTunes, Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. We need them when I have them. Spotify also does a rating system. And Brian, here's a nice way to end the show. Okay. I went to a John Mayer concert last week, and my wife was telling her friends that you are a better looking version of John Mayer.
Come on. That's nice. That's nice.
And then I
hear.
showed the
And I
picture
was-
of you.
It's like
They're like, I don't know
isn't
about that.
true anymore. Back once upon a time, I was maybe in a fight. Not anymore.
That's a
nice
nice
thing.
thing.
I'm taking that one. Thanks, Mike. At BK Glue Guys on Twitter, right? We already did that. We just did the whole thing. Yeah, everyone knows. Everyone knows where to find us. We're out of here. Bye, everybody. Say bye, Mike.